Hey everyone, Greg Mescall here. Welcome back to another episode of What's Good. And we're joined now by rugby athlete for Team USA, Nicole Heavirland. Nicole, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Hey, so this is a weird time for everybody. I know you're someone that prides yourself on fitness, staying in shape, and being part of your team. How are you handling this time when you can't do all those normal team activities?
Yeah, this time is just calls for a bunch of adaptability. Obviously don't have my teammates there to help with motivation, but very fortunate to have one living with teammate, Cheta Emba. So we compete back and forth with each other. We have a couple bands at home, a med ball, erg machine, thankfully, and continuing to stay fit throughout this.
You play a physical sport, a team sport, one that is the opposite of social distancing. How do you replicate as best you can your sport when you can't be around and compete in an actual match?
Yeah, it's tough. Rugby's very physical, and obviously can't do that right now. So been staying fit, like I said, and then really being a student of the game. So going back and watching film and picking out how I can be better in each moment, or how I can give my teammates a better opportunity, and be more of a student of the game in that aspect.
Many people have looked at this stoppage kind of like an injury, even if they're not hurt, in that everything's kind of just stopped, not getting a chance to compete. It's kind of given them maybe a different perspective. You bring a special perspective. You were right there before the 2016 games to make that roster. Has any of that mindset applied to now as you try and work through the adversity of not getting to compete?
Yeah, I mean, that was a tough experience, and here's another tough experience. So I know I learned a lot from being a reserve in 2016, and I know I'll learn a lot in this experience with the postponement of the Olympics. There's something to gain with every obstacle,
Your team performing so well, climbing up the rankings, excellent results leading up into the stoppage here. How's the group trying to stay connected and keep that momentum going for when you can get back out there?
Yeah, we stay connected through some weekly Zoom calls. Sometimes it's with our sports psych, so our mental aspect connectivity through that, and sometimes we have it with our nutritionist. But it's tough. Everyone's got their own thing going on now, and people are going home, so we're not all in one location. So yeah.
What's the thing you're missing most about competition right now?
Definitely putting on that jersey and representing our country. The other day in the back of the house, we have this little gym set up with the erg and the bands and whatnot. And my roommate and we put on our full kit jersey and worked out in it, just because we wanted that feeling, like to what it feels like to have that crest on your chest, and to play for something bigger than yourself, to work out for something bigger than yourself.
Yeah, so many athletes are missing the things I think you wouldn't always think of as a fan, whether it's the big score, the big moment, but it is those little things like putting on your kit, right? Like getting a chance to line up with your teammates. It seems like a lot of the athletes that I've talked with, those little moments with their team are some of the biggest things they miss.
Yeah, 100%.
Everyone in this pandemic seems to be getting involved in something else. For whatever reason, baking bread is something that everyone is doing all over the internet. I know coffee is a big thing for you. You're talking to us right in front of a coffee shop. Have you been able to build on that passion?
I've been drinking a normal amount of coffee, I'd say. A lot of the shops are closed, unfortunately, so I haven't been roasting, though. I've just been doing the normal French press in the morning, but it's a lot more tastier these days, just because when you do make that perfect cup of coffee, that experience means a lot more, and you enjoy the simple things. And I've enjoyed a lot of good coffee lately, just at the house and with my roommates.
Can you describe what a perfect cup of coffee is? Is it a feeling? Is it a smell? Is it a taste? How do you describe it?
I would say all of the above. It's who you're with as well. not only does the taste matter, the smell, the oils around it, but who you're experiencing with and what conversation is going on and the vibes.
When I was reading about your love for coffee, I was picturing this athlete who drinks a lot of coffee and then has to go out and work out and compete and burn it all off. And I was wondering, are you drinking all this coffee and you have no way to let the energy out? But it seems like it means a lot more than that to you.
100%. Yeah, I even have a coffee tattoo right here. So it's a lot more than just, the caffeine. My mom, I'm Colombian, so I like to say it's in my blood.
As we think about returning to play, and we talked a little bit about the idea of this being like an injury, even though it isn't. You mentioned putting the uniform back on, representing Team USA. As far as the actual gameplay, as far as the competition of rugby, what are you missing the most? What are you excited to get back out there and do?
Be with my teammates. They're amazing, each and every one of them. We've got so many great stories and backgrounds, and they're truly a motivation for me. And they're funny, we have a great time, whether it be grinding away at a hard conditioning session or over some meal that we are eating to refuel for the next session. I really do miss them and can't wait to get back out there with them.
You've talked about becoming more of a student of the game during this stoppage, and I know many high-level athletes have incorporated more mental work, more visualization into their routine to try and help during this shutdown. Have you started to think about, and maybe it's been on your mind all this time, but thinking about what it would be to make that Olympic roster, to be there to represent as far as one of the competitors, and if that can happen a year from now?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's giving me chills just thinking about it, but part of me will just let that happen. If it's meant to be, I'll become an Olympian in 2021. But until then, I really do want to enjoy each moment and each learning experience, because if the goal is just to go to the Olympics, then I think I'll lose sight of what the process is like and that enjoyment. So trying to take each day as it is and enjoy it.
That's a common refrain, especially from athletes in the Olympic sports scene. They really have a great appreciation for the journey, and it sounds like you're no different. We're talking with Nicole Heavirland here from USA Rugby. Your sport is one that is on the rise. It's growing. I feel like you hear more about rugby every year. What sort of role do you feel like you and your teammates take on to be good ambassadors for this sport?
Yeah, I mean, every time we go to a tournament, whether it be in Cape Town, South Africa, Langford, Canada, or Paris, we try to do an outreach. We try to go to schools and implement to these young girls and boys what rugby is and share our experience and tell them that they can play, because rugby takes anyone. It's all shapes and sizes, colors, anyone. So that's what we like to say and just share the beautiful culture about it. I don't think there's another sport out there where you compete and battle against another opponent and then have a meal over or a drink afterwards and share your experience with the All Blacks from New Zealand or
Sure.
with Australia team. So it's pretty unique in that sense.
You started out as a basketball player way back in college and then eventually moved over to rugby. How did the sport of rugby welcome you in? What was it about it that you felt like you were home?
Yeah, I feel like you got to be, I don't want to say weird to be a rugby player, but you gotta be willing to grind for your teammates and just overall a really good person. And I think when you're surrounded by that, you want to be that. So I felt at home when I switched over from basketball to rugby at West Point and didn't look back.
Was it the physical play? What was it that really drew you into rugby besides the culture?
Yeah, definitely the physicality. I grew up playing tackle football and wrestling with my older brothers and the boys from school. And just like the nonstop fitness aspect of it, you have to be pretty fit to enjoy rugby.
Anyone that has spoken to athletes or even the average person about how to get through these times talks about building a routine. And if you stick to a routine, it's going to be helpful. You went to West Point. I can't think of a place that's maybe more routine oriented than a service academy. How much did that foundation help you today?
I was only there for a year and a half. And I'd like to say that I was pretty motivated beforehand. Not to say that West Point didn't help, but I always knew that I wanted to play sports, and in order to play at the highest level, I had to keep working and not stop working. I went to prep school in New Hampshire, and that's where I was able to independently make decisions on my own, what to eat, when to work out, who to hang out with. And I think that's where I started to break away and notice that I can put in the hard work that's needed to become a professional athlete.
Do you have a typical routine these days during the shutdown? And can you give us an idea of what that looks like?
Yeah, I mean, I typically wake up around 7:38. I will first meditate for about 10 minutes. After I meditate, I make my coffee, and depending on what time my workout is, I'll either just drink and chill out and drink my coffee, or drink coffee and make breakfast. Always eat breakfast outside on the stoop. It's really sunny in San Diego, thankful for that. And then get ready for my workout for the day. I think movement is huge during these times. Talked a lot about to my teammates, and they've expressed that working out has just really helped them in these times. So same for me. Have some lunch after the big workout, and typically watch some game film or just hang out and go surfing, do some yoga. I like to bike ride. Yeah.
Excellent. Sounds like a full day, a lot of work. Before we let you go here, we end these interviews with these same three questions, and I'll tell them to you in an order, and then we can go through them. And it's, what's something recently you've done for yourself? What's something recently you've done for someone else? And what's something recently that really made you laugh, like really laugh hard? And so we'll start with what's something recently that you've done for yourself?
I think something I've done for myself recently is meditate. And it's hard. So I think finding the time in the day, whether it be the morning or an afternoon session that I find time for, it's just being okay and being, like, not doing anything, not planning, just being. And that has helped tremendously for me and has contributed to my happiness throughout the day. So I think that's something I've done for myself.
And that's tough to get to that spot, especially for athletes in your position who I think always feel like if they're not spending even a minute working on their goals, they're falling behind.
Exactly.
And then what's something you've done for someone else?
Recently, I've helped some teammates with skills. So we're able to go to parks now in San Diego. A few of them have opened up, and grab a rugby ball and work through some passing. So help out with any skills that they need. My roommate, teammate, girls who are trying to get on the team, and try to help them and perfect that pass, because rugby passing is a little awkward if you haven't done it.
And last, what's something recently that really made you laugh?
I think my grandma. She lives in Gilbert, Arizona, and we've chatted a lot more recently, and she is funny. Just her stories of all this around COVID, and she likes to keep it lighthearted. I won't go too into details, but she makes me laugh, and I always have a really good time around her, and I miss her a lot. But yeah, I love her to death, and she's a little comedian.
If there's been one silver lining to all this, people are really reconnecting with their grandparents and their parents in a major way.
Yeah, very true. Because I mean, I almost feel I feel bad, like we're not supposed to see them, we're not supposed to be around them. How does that make them feel,
Yeah.
So
At least you can do is a little FaceTime, a little chat. I'm sure it brightens their day too.
yeah, brightens my day too.
That's excellent. Hey, Nicole, thank you for the time. Really appreciate it. Looking forward to what you do next, and good luck making your way to Tokyo and on your next cup of coffee.
Thank you so much.